Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, I must fulfill the guest's demands to the best of my ability? Yes, ma'am. So a few years ago I used to work at a country estate. It was a neoclassical Palladian mansion to give it its proper title, and is a listed building that was restored and won prestigious titles for the restoration. The important thing to note is that this is defined as a house, not a hotel, so there is no permanent staffing rota for the butlers, waiting staff. We were offered shifts for events and the only permanent staff was management, groundskeepers, spa staff and the chef. This means the waiting staff had very little protection in terms of working hours etc. This place often attracted the kind of money that people paid other people to organize their holiday for them, and was something to equivalent of 5 stars plus. I had earned a reputation with these agents who were repeat clients as one of their favorite staff, on a first-name basis, brought them coffee in their morning meetings etc. In particular, this story came after one New Year's event these clients had run where I worked 20 hours non-stop on Hogmanay, NY Eve. The management staff totally changed soon after this event. The new management structure comprised of a new GM and a front of house (FO) and back of house (BO) deputies. They weren't really aware of previous staff track records and simply had a list of names of staff for call-in. I immediately got on with new GM and BO. They liked my ideas and often implemented them. I knew the house very well and what unexpected issues happened instead of FO's ideas, and this irked FO somewhat. She would try and reduce hours I was offered or ask me to complete impossible tasks at times, such as running a 5-star plus dinner service alone for 20 guests for over an hour while she pulled other staff away for other stuff. The most important line she ever said though when I said I needed help at points was, "You must do everything within your power to make sure the guests are happy Bob, any demands they make you do your best to meet it." This irked me as given the reputation of this place I knew that was already a given. I knew it was speak not unless spoken to, and if they asked you to dance like a chicken for their enjoyment, you did it. MC began simply waiting to happen. Fast forward a couple months to another event organized by the specific repeat clients, a diamond wedding anniversary. The event just so happened to coincide with a Six Nations rugby game. Me and one other staff member were massive rugby nuts, and would regularly talk about it in downtime, and it just so happened one of the repeat clients was also a fan. It was a standard afternoon session in the house, many people in many different rooms, and I just so happened to be working from the butler pantry across the TV room inside which is an old man, let's call him Stanley. He is sharp as a tack but lovely, and he's chatting to the client, with the rugby on the TV, saying he wished he had someone to watch it with. The client mentions I like rugby to him and he says, "Oh, it'd be grand if you could join an old fella to chat," and as much as I'd live to, I have to politely decline as I am on shift. Although I do mention that my job is to do everything within my power to ensure the guests are happy and meet their demands as best I can, Stanley has a twinkle in his eye and the client get this look on his face of "oh no" as Stanley turns to me and says, "Very well then, I demand you sit and watch the rugby with me and talk with me." Correct, Stanley just MCED me, so naturally I just follow on and reply, "Of course sir, certainly sir." Meanwhile the agent is struggling so hard to keep a straight face the veins popping out his head nearly punched me. After all I was just following demands to the letter. Soon enough word gets back to FO and she comes in with this unique face of polite rage, and asked why I wasn't serving other guests, and Stanley just pipes up saying, "I demanded he sit with me and he is fulfilling my demand to the best of his ability." I just looked and shrugged with the straightest face possible but also trying to crack a crap-eating grin slightly too. She starts going red and the client comes in and tells her it's true before she politely storms off to the GM, who I am told by Bo burst into laughter upon hearing the story in her office. Spent the rest of the match getting Stanley drinks and talking to him and the client about the game, got paid for it all too. Next one is titled, My Boss Scared Off Rude Customers by Literally Taking a Closer Look. I used to work at a store, run by a woman named Irene. She would buy vintage and high-end items, repair them, and then sell them in the store. We didn't have multiple sizes of things and the only bulk items we bought were little trinkets and soaps, sometimes jewelry. One day, when Irene had gone out to get more supplies, the dickless couple walked in. The wife, who looked like vegan cat vomit rolled in crystals and hemp, was on the wrong foot the moment she opened her mouth. Jerkina seemed to think we were her slaves and that she was queen of the world, and everything had to be in her size. Her husband Vernon would grunt and repeat what she said in a more nasally aggressive voice. It was the longest 2 hours of my life. We had everything organized by size, and did not have extras in the back. After explaining that to Jerkina for the 100th time, I was about to throw a purse at her head. This is not my size. Why don't you have my size? I told her to maybe look at a larger size rack, because obviously she was not a 2, she was a 6. No. I am a 2. I have always been a 2. I was a 2 when I had my kids. I am a 2 now. Vernon repeated the same thing. No. She is a 2. A 2. A 2. Irene came in while the happy couple was shopping and asked what the problem was to me because I had that look. I explained the woman was being picky. Eventually the woman stormed up again, with a pair of pants, demanding I read her the size. I told her the size, a 6, and she said, I am a 2 not a 6. Why do I fit into these? Irene ended up speaking with her. Those are a 6. If you fit into them, then you are not a 2. Jerkina got silent, turned to her husband, and waved the pants around. Vernon said, now, listen here, I don't like the way you guys have been helping my wife. She asks questions and gets attitude. You should use your eyes and actually look at the tag and see if there is a problem. She wants to know the size, tell her the size. Irene agrees. Sure, I will take a closer look. She puts the pants on the counter, pops out her glass eye, and holds it close to the tag. Still a 6. I start laughing so hard I have to sit down. The couple sputtered, waved their hands around like blind birds, and storm out. They left a huge mess I had to help clean up, but only after I spent 20 minutes laughing about it with Irene and the other cashier Helen. Irene gave me money to get us all coffee, we closed early, and cleaned up the store. Irene was the best boss I ever had. I was sad when I had to move for college. Next one is titled, Everything Needs to be Displayed According to the approximately 5-year-old layout plan you have from our company. Yes, I am sure. Background, the store I was working at had deals with suppliers, where we not only sold their products but they were also paying us for a certain space where their products would be displayed. We had the responsibility of restocking it and keeping it in order so it would look nice as stuff was sold out and new were coming in. Roughly once a week a representative from each brand, supplier would come, made it look extra nice, take a picture for his report, chatted to us for a bit, maybe asked us to change few things here and there. Most of them were nice and chill people and we had a good relationship with them. Well, not this new guy whom we shall call Bruce. Bruce was from a company that had rented an entire shelf, think approximately 8 meters wide 2 meters tall, in our TV section for every cable you can think of. HDMIs, Coax, and many others in various lengths and prices, including some very premium, red needlessly expensive options. When he came in, it wasn't super tidy since it was in the middle of a busy day, but it was in no way a mess or anything. Just normal, people bought some stuff so it's not beautifully aligned and 1 or 2 things are on the wrong hook, look. He started chewing up one of my underlings which I overheard and came over right after I finished with my customer. Hi, is something wrong? The hell it is. This is not what we agreed upon. It's all mess. It doesn't look that bad to me, it just needs to be restocked a bit. No, it's all wrong. Look, he said pointing at the layout on his phone. This doesn't belong here, this doesn't belong here, and this should be over there instead of that. He was yelling while pulling all the stock from the hooks and dropping it on the ground. Okay, stop, hold on, stop. Let's figure this out. Show me the plan. He handed me his phone. I took a bit to go through it and realized it was not updated for years as we did not carry most of the products listed there anymore. This was common as these layouts were more like a guide for us on how things should look like, at least with the other suppliers, see. You no longer send us these ones, or these ones, or these. We do what we can to make it nice, we want to sell too. And do you see these? And these? Those are not listen in here, we needed to put them somewhere and here it makes sense since it's next to these cables. Where else should we put them? All items not listed here go in this miscellaneous bin. Are you new here or something? We send you these layouts for a reason. We expect them to be followed. Is that something you are capable of doing? Of course. Can you send me the layout via email again with maybe some exceptions if you want us go make any? I might have displaced it, I didn't, but I wanted it in writing. Site, sure, here you go. I don't want to make you guys look bad, so I'm not gonna take the photo today, but I need to send my report tomorrow. I will stop by in the morning, can you fix it by then? We will get right on that. Sorry about that. He left and I went to my office to check the email. My plot worked perfectly as the email read, please follow attached layout plan. No exceptions. Just to be sure, I called my boss, told him what happened, told him how dumb it is to follow the outdated plan. He knew, but we agreed that that's exactly what he wanted us to do. He approved extra hours for 2 part-time colleagues and we got to work. First we fixed what he threw on the ground and made it look nice the way we usually do, took a picture and then started on redoing it according to his wishes. The entire process took about 8 to 10 man-hours and in the end 2/3 of the shelf were bare as baby bottom. The misc bin was overflowing and complete mess and we still had to put few huge boxes of stock back to the warehouse. We took a picture, closed the store and went home awaiting the upcoming crap show. The next day, both me and my boss had a shift scheduled and when Bruce arrived, he lost it. My boss politely asked him to deal with it in his office, otherwise he would have him removed from the store. Apparently, he kept blaming us and in his rage, this dumb with a brain so dense that it could only be examined by a geologist, decided to storm out of the store and placed a complaint on us to his corporate. Needless to say that my boss explained the story to them really well, forwarded Bruce's email and attached picture of before and after that we made the day before. Within 2 hours, 3 guys from the company came and started redoing the whole thing pretty much the same way we had it before. We helped when we didn't have any customers to tend to. They promised to draft and send us new updated layout but made it clear that we are welcome to adjust it as we see fit based on current stock. We never heard from Bruce again nor had any issues with this company. Next one is titled, At Least It Looked Nicer, Right? I used to manage a small franchised auto shop, and had a small office that nobody went in except me and the occasional employee. Customers were definitely never in it, which is a major point of this story. One of the guys from head office was down, one of those people that just has a job because he's a childhood friend of the owner. He had a very vague title and responsibilities. As far as we could tell, his job was to go around to the shops and complain about pointless things, while causing more trouble than he could ever hope to solve, while we were told we had to listen to him. Here's one example. I had a ridiculously large desk in my office. Besides the size, it was not much more than a table. 2 drawers, and no dedicated PC shelf or cabinet. The surface was about 8 feet long by 3 feet deep. I had very little on this desk in comparison. I needed space for a couple sheets of paper at a time, a keyboard, mouse, and monitor. The tower for the desktop PC, which also was the server for the office, was also on the desk, naturally. He decided one day that having the tower on the desk looked bad, and was unprofessional. Which again was irrelevant as no customers ever saw it. He said I needed to move it, and he had a specific space in mind, right between the side of the desk and the wall. It didn't even look like it would fit, but he went and got a tape measure, and it pretty well exactly fit in that gap. There was as close to zero space as humanly possible on the left and right sides. The back was as close to the wall as possible as was allowed by the cables coming out the back, and then the front was open. In fairness, it did look okay there. In practice though, some of you may see the problem. The vents for the PC were on the left and right side, and were now right up against the wall and the desk. I pointed out that this was a bad idea because it was certainly going to overheat there. I tried pretty hard to argue this, but he didn't believe that, and insisted I do it anyway, period. So, I did it, and sent him an email, with my boss and the IT guy CC'd, afterwards with a picture of the new setup, verifying this is what he wanted. He confirmed it for me very clearly, which is just what I wanted. A few days later, I come in one morning, and the PC is off. Normally it stays on overnight, as once you close the store in the evening, it runs a backup overnight, and then just stays on. It's no big deal at all that it's off when I get there, in the sense that after the backup, it's not needed until we open the next day, and it only takes a minute to start up. So I start it up, seems to be working fine. I check my email, and there's an auto-generated message from the software company, maybe? I don't recall exactly how it was generated, saying that last night's backup failed. A quick check of some logs, and the temperature got too hot while running the backup and the tower shut itself off. I see that the email went to the IT guy and the bosses, so they're informed, assuming they read their emails. That's not my problem. If not, I'm not worried unless I get more instructions about it. I don't. The backup is, well, literally just a backup of certain info on the hard drive, so there's no immediate problem in the shop opening or running that day. Of course, this happens again that night, and the next. It was 4 or 5 days in a row. Then I get in one Friday morning, and the PC won't boot. I'm not an IT guy, but okay with computers, and it appears to me the hard drive is toast. We can't open the shop without the server working, so now of course it's an emergency. The bosses are now panicking, talking to tech support for the company supplying the proprietary software and PC. Eventually they decide that yes, the hard drive is toast. I can't remember exactly why, but there's something in the contract we had about having to get a new hard drive from the supplier. We can't just run to a Best Buy. That has to be overnighted from over 2,000 miles away. Over a weekend. It cost a lot, in addition to being down for all of Friday. It arrives midday Saturday, and setting up the software takes the rest of Saturday. Sunday, we're normally closed, so no loss of business there, but with the backup having failed for the preceding week, there's a whole ton of info that has to be manually entered from those days. The only people around with the access and knowledge to do so are me and my boss, and he sure as heck has never worked a weekend and doesn't intend to start now. The good parts are that I'm a single guy at the time with no plans, and I get paid hourly. And the way our pay works, is I make time and a half for overtime, until I get to a certain amount of hours, which I manage to do Friday and Saturday. After that, I get double and a half. Which I did for about 10-12 hours on Sunday, while doing slightly tedious, but very easy, data entry work, in peace and quiet except for YouTube. The company lost 2 days of income, ended up paying me the equivalent of about 50 hours work for about 16 to 20 actual very easy hours of work, and I had a nice paper trail for next time this idiot had a bad idea to implement. I have no idea what trouble, if any, that guy got in for coming up with such a dumb plan, but probably not much more than a basic yelling at being the owner's best friend. And all I had to do was do exactly what I was told. It was easily a $20,000 mistake to improve the look of a PC that nobody ever sees, which of course ended up back on my desk afterwards. Next one is titled, "Sure, I'll put on a name tag." So, I worked for a big box store. I wore a blue shirt and khakis. For a little background, I'm a guy, and I started this job when I was in high school. At this point, I was working for a Fortune 500 company, going to school, and working 2 part-time jobs. This was one of them. We ran through some managers, but the last breed is what brings this story around. There was a policy that everyone needed to wear a name tag. It makes sense, they want customers to know who they are dealing with. I showed up one day, coming from one of my other things as mentioned earlier. I had everything I needed, but I didn't have my name tag. Normally, the managers didn't sweat that kind of thing. The manager who was there that day did. She told me I absolutely needed to have a name tag. Without breaking eye contact, I reached into the box of name tags, grabbed one, and unwrapped it. As I put it on, I saw the name on it. Tiffany. I thought perfect. I spent the day, and let me tell you, this was one of my best sales days ever, with a name tag of Tiffany. I gave the best customer service, gave the best deals, etc. that day. For weeks, people were coming in looking for a dude named Tiffany. Last one is titled, "You want me to run the dishwasher every time?" Okie dokie. Let me start off by saying that my wife, whom I love, is a bit of a Karen. She's not 100%, but years of modeling her own mother's behavior has created a mini monster that sometimes comes out when she doesn't get her way. The other party in this is my son. He's 10, and completely devious. How devious? This morning, I woke up and walked out to the kitchen to find an empty bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips on the counter that I didn't even know we had. Apparently, it was bought for cookies at some point, and he hid them and has been eating them at night while he reads Minecraft fanfic on his Kindle. Okay, you have the characters, now for the MC. My son has a chore on odd days to load the dishwasher after his little brother empties it. We have a household of 6, so lots of dishes get made, and we rotate the duties so nobody gets stuck doing them every day. The other day, wife noticed that son had not started the dishwasher after he loaded it. She got kind of huffy about it. Son, what's the point of loading the dishwasher if you don't start it? Now we'll be behind in dishes today. Being the sensible father I am, I suggested to wife that perhaps we can provide son with some sort of guidance on when exactly he should run the dishwasher. I was thinking she would give him a threshold of how many dishes or something. But she was only thinking about the inconvenience of the moment, and without thinking it through, said, every time you do the dishes, you have to run the dishwasher. Yesterday morning, I came out for breakfast and my wife is grumpy. I asked what is wrong. She pulled open the dishwasher, and while it was clear that it was run, there was a single glass inside. You see, after dinner dishes were dried and put away, son came down to get a glass of water. Knowing that he was making a dish, and that it was technically still his day, he opted to load his dirty glass into the empty dishwasher, and remembering wife's rule, he opted to follow it to the letter. I laughed. Wife was not amused, but even she had to admit that he only did what she told him to do. Thanks for listening.